Hi, welcome to the channel. I'm Summer. Today we are going to be creating a long layered, slightly medium layered butterfly haircut. This is going to be perfect for those of you who you want some movement in your hair, but you don't want as many layers in the hair as a traditional butterfly haircut is often seen. I'm going to be walking you through section to section how to make sure that you're cutting everything even. And with that being said, let's get started. Okay, so we are jumping right into it. I already actually have her sectioned off because I am going to be cutting her perimeter just a little bit. Her ends are a little crispy, but I'm gonna show you guys her before. She currently has just really, really long layers. There's not a ton of movement in her hair at all, especially through the front. So what we're gonna be creating today is just nice, soft, longer layers, but in the style of a butterfly haircut. So they're probably gonna be more like long to medium layers. So we're gonna get a lot more movement with the hair, lots of fun, but it's still gonna be maybe a little bit more, more tame, I guess, if you will, or more conservative or reserved as far as the shortness of the layers. So they're gonna be a little bit more manageable for somebody who wants lots of shape, but not the demand that shorter layers sometimes call for. So I'm just gonna quickly skim her ends. I'm not really taking off any crazy amount of length. I know this hair is like really roughed up. She was already rough to begin with when I got her. And then coloring her, the ends are just, they're a little flat ironing is almost not saving how crisp they look. So I'm just gonna quickly trim through these ends and then we'll get into the layers. So if you did have a client that is similar to this mannequin, I do like to dust the ends first just because I think that that helps with the rest of the haircut. So I do recommend doing that first if you need to remove length. Okay, so now that we have just those ends cleaned up ever so slightly, we're now gonna move into the actual sectioning for the haircut. So with the way I like to do these butterfly layers, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come in the back, and I am cutting down the middle today. I do have some other butterfly haircut tutorials with a side part that I'll leave linked in the description below, but today is a middle part. So we're gonna go with that middle part down through the back of the head, and I'm just gonna comb this all forward because the butterfly, a lot of the hair is just all directed to the front, the way that I like to do it, and to the same point. So once you have that done, we're gonna come in and we're gonna separate this whole top half. So you're basically taking where the comb leaves the head. So you would place the comb flat against the side of the head, and where that comb leaves the head, that's where you're gonna take your parting to clip off the top. And typically this falls usually right in line with the recession. So place comb, make your mark, and you're gonna take this and you're gonna go all the way back and you're gonna round through basically right underneath the crown. So you can see our line goes from the back and all the way around. And what you can do is just follow that line through to the other side. So I see my line here, and we're just gonna come around and follow that. And then what I like to do once I get into the front here, you would still place that comb and make sure that it matches. Granted, you are following a line, but just to be double check and to be extra sure, you would still hold that comb up against the head and make sure that you are taking it at the appropriate point. So I think I'm actually a little low here. There we go. That looks better. So all of this hair is going to get clipped up. We will separate it probably later, but for now, everything is just gonna come straight up, comb it through, get those snarls out. And we're just gonna clip it into place so we don't touch it until later. So what we're gonna do is you're gonna work from one side and you're gonna be going from the front of the head, pulling it forward, and you're gonna take sections all the way to your middle part back here, and everything is gonna be coming forward. So this creates a lot of shape and movement in the front, but it also helps maintain the layers in the back so they don't get too short, which is really nice. So these are gonna be more medium to long layers where we're gonna be cutting our first guide still. We're gonna be removing a good amount of length, but it's still gonna fall below the chin. So you're gonna be able to pull the hair back and out of the way, but still get some shape compared to where it's at. So we're gonna take, I like doing diagonal sections, and all this is going to get brought forward, and you're gonna follow the line of your diagonal. Now you wanna have a visual guide of how much you're removing. Again, I want this still below the chin, but look how much length we have here that's gonna come up and create a really nice shape and face frame through the front. So if you were nervous about taking too much, what you can do is take the front piece of this diagonal section. So just grab this right here and you can cut your guide. So I know I want it to fall below the chin, so I'm just gonna comb through it gently. I'm not pulling really tight, and we're just gonna remove the length. So we're off of the shoulder, but very below the chin. You can just slightly cut that. And what you'll do is blend that in. So we're coming through, we're holding at an angle going up. I see my previous guide at this point here, and we're just gonna blend into that. So what's gonna happen is when we let this out, this is gonna get a little bit longer, and we create a nice angle here that goes from short to long. So I'll show you that again. You're gonna come forward, you would find your guide, and I'm just gonna lightly refine this. My guide is up top, and just blend into that. And then you're just gonna take your next section. I like to take 1/2 inch about in size. I wanna be able to easily see through my guide. I like to comb this hair back. Take part of your previous guide that you just worked with, and we're going straight forward. So comb that hair flat. And we're gonna angle our fingers, and I can see my guide. So it's right here underneath, and we're just cutting and blending into that. And as you work your way into this back where you're starting to get more length, don't feel like you have to take it all in one go. You can break it into 2 sections. That way you maintain control. So I'm just gonna split this in half at first. We're gonna take just a little bit at the top at first. You're gonna come forward. I can see my guide underneath here, and I'm cutting this hair. Now I still have a little left on this bottom half, so I'm gonna come in and grab it. And we have just very little to blend in at the bottom. The further you move into the back, the less hair you're gonna cut, just because it has further to stretch in front. And again, think about where that hair is laying to where we cut our guide. So this piece here is coming all the way forward, but if you drop it, you only are having just this tiny bit to cut, and it's probably only gonna come from the top part. And then again, just remember to keep your sections thin enough to where you can always see through to them. So I'm still taking a slight angle, working in. We'll have one more section here to take from the back, but I'll show you from a slightly different angle. I'm combing this and I'm coming around with the head, bringing it forward, and we're just blending that in. We have very little to cut here. So you're still coming forward, trying to get that flat on the head. Nothing there, and we might not have anything in our last section here. Barely. So what this does is this creates a nice flow that goes shorter to longer. After we get it dry, we can refine any pieces that maybe look like they need more blending in. But I always like to think of the butterfly, the front is like the wings that you see, and the back is the body of that butterfly. So you have all this movement, but that back is that base length, you know, of the butterfly. So we're gonna repeat the same things on the other side, just matching them up. If you want to set your guide, what you can do is you can go ahead and set it by just grabbing the corner pieces and matching them so you know everything flows, and just bring them into the center. And you'll just set your guide to blend everything into. But it's the same thing. You're gonna take diagonal sections, working in small enough sections at a time, and you're just gonna work your way back through to that back middle part. And just remember, keep your hands at that angle when you go to take your section. I typically would just be standing in front of the client, but I want to make sure you guys can see. But everything comes forward and flat against that head. So as you get into that back corner, again, you're still gonna maintain a little bit of a diagonal section, but everything is still gonna come forward. And the further you get back into this back section, the less hair you are going to have to cut. So I only have just these little corners, nothing from that top part. And this will be our last piece. I'm gonna try to angle her a little bit more. So we're coming straight and just barely right here on the bottom. I'm gonna double check the bottom section, and no, not really anything. So I am gonna check this other side to make sure my angle is matching up. I feel like I might have missed some of my bottom pieces. And I'm just gonna skim through and look. Sometimes it's easier to angle one side than the other. So if you feel like you need to go back and check, just go back and check, you know? It's not gonna hurt anything. You didn't like do anything wrong because you're going back and checking your haircut, you know? If anything, you're just making it better. I might have a couple pieces, but nothing crazy. There we go. Yep, it was in this back length that comparing how I was cutting the other side, I'm like, I feel like I didn't get enough back here. All right, perfect. So now that we have sort of like our under perimeter cut, we are going to move into the top section. And I like to respritz the hair at this point because it sort of tends to dry and you're not gonna be able to get the same level of control. So we're gonna come back to the middle part when we let this down. And that looks pretty middle part enough to me. So just keep these separated really into two sections. I still like to work into two sections, and everything is going in those more so vertical sections rather than horizontal. So the vertical is I'm bringing everything like this, where horizontal, everything would be flat. I feel like a horizontal line creates a little bit more of a harsh line with your haircut, where the vertical just softens it a little bit more. So I will do horizontals when I'm doing more of like a shag type haircut. But for the butterfly, I like to keep it in verticals, so it just keeps it softer. So now this is gonna be our main face framing area. And I'm gonna be cutting it pretty much similar. So we'll take a little bit of a section at a time, and we're still gonna be in a slight diagonal with our parting. It's not, you know, straight across. And you're gonna be doing kind of the similar thing. You've just broken it up into two parts so you get more control. So we're taking from our original guide that we're gonna be blending into. So we're coming and we're moving straight forward, and I'm twisting where my hands are still at an angle here, and I'm sort of turning the hair, and I can see my previous guide here, and we're just gonna angle right up into that. So it's the same exact thing that you were doing before, you're just in that top section. So you take your section and you're gonna turn your hands and you'll cut and blend. We're gonna take our next section, same thing, moving back at a diagonal. And you're just blending. So again, you're coming forward, placing your fingers in. So you'll place your fingers in horizontally, and then you're gonna turn them. And we're just gonna follow our guide. So I see my guide down here and cut. So start out flat, and then you'll turn it up and down. Can easily see my guide. Make sure you just keep those sections small enough that you can easily see through. And if you feel like you've lost your guide, just go back in and re-skim a couple pieces and check your work. And again, we're following all the way back to the center part back here of the crown. So I have just this last little bit to cut, and then we'll do the other side. So there I can't tell actually if I've lost my guide or not, so I'm going to take a little less, a section, and it's just down in here. And then I'm just gonna grab some bigger pieces and skim. All right, so now we're gonna move in to the other side, and I still like to set my guide to just make sure that it blends. So I'll take the front piece of your front face frame here, same as we did before. And you're just gonna comb down. You don't need to tug on it a ton. And you're just gonna match those up. So now we know where we're gonna be connecting our two guides. So you're gonna connect your guide that you already cut before to this guide in the front. It's very, very simple. And then once you've set your guide, you're gonna come in at a slight angle. And we're gonna comb forward. Now your positioning may change on the other side of the head. And you're just gonna blend in. So I see my top guide is all the way up here. I'm just gonna angle down into that. So I'm just gonna cut off this little corner. I am struggling a little bit with my positioning today. For some reason, I've been sick the last couple weeks. And also trying to make sure you guys can see always throws off my body a little bit. And we're just gonna blend up in, removing that length. There we go. I don't think I have anything else to cut. I'll double check. So like that last section didn't really do anything, but I have one more piece back here to take from the crown. So I am just gonna do it just to make sure. And we're good. So now what I'm gonna do is I actually like to re-spritz the hair at this point because I'm gonna do a little bit of cross-checking. So I like to re-spritz because it gets the hair all back to even saturation, where some pieces are gonna be like more dry than others. So it just kind of gets it back to your base that you want it to be. Okay, so what I like to do is I like to come in and just straight horizontal sectioning to check my sides and the top. So you're not gonna check them where you bring everything and just go straight across, because we've created an angle that goes from short to long. So if you take this and you come up straight and you see that your front piece here is shorter than all the back, and you go and you cut that, you've removed the whole point of the haircut. So you're still going to be holding your hands at an angle. We're just making sure that the angle really flows and it blends. So we're gonna come straight up and we're pointing up to the ceiling. And you just wanna skim any hairs that are like very obviously sticking out. And we're actually gonna over direct this just slightly forward. And we're just gonna nick those pieces. If there's a lot, I would think about it twice before you cut, just because there shouldn't be. I would go back through and re-skim the way we did it prior first and then come to this point. But over direct up, we're twisting again because we created an angle. And you're just gonna skim any pieces that you feel like are really out of place. So I have this middle section just right in here that needs to go. And you just work your way down. That's good. And I'm gonna do that on the other side, the same exact way first. And we're just doing the sides. You don't really need to go past that crown. This just allows you to see the cut from a different way to section the hair to make sure everything is blending. And then the back I don't worry about as much just because you don't remove as much length. I like to see that dry more so. So I'll wait to do that after I get it dry. So I'm gonna put some products in her hair and get her blown out for you. If enough of you in the comments, and this video does well, and enough of you comment that you would like to see the blow dry tutorial, I am open to doing them. They don't always perform the best, and to put them all in the same video just makes the video way too long. So if you want to see a blow dry tutorial of this haircut, let me know in the comments and I can go ahead and try to film that for you guys, because I do like doing them. They just don't always perform the best. So make sure you let me know and you help me be able to consistently do those videos. So we're just gonna put in a little smoothing lotion from Moroccan Oil. Her hair is a little rough, this mannequin is, so this is gonna smooth it out nice, give me some shine, and allow me to create the shape I want in the layers, as well as give frizz control for those of you who have frizzy hair. So we're just working that in, and then I'm gonna get started. All right, so after you have it dried and styled, which I love, you would want to look through and check to see if anything needs tweaked or anything. I did not texturize her at all. So sometimes with this cut, especially in the front face frame, you might find that you need to texturize it. So that's all going to be dependent on how thick you like your layers to look, or if you like them a little bit more lived in and soft. So that would be the only thing. Otherwise, just go through and check how we did. So I'm going to get her sprayed down, and then we'll show you guys some nice slow-mo shots and get you out of here. All right, guys, here is our finished and final look and some nice slow motion shots. I love the way this came out, and don't forget to let me know in the comments if you'd like to see a blow dry on this. We've got lots of shape and movement all coming through that front, where you're still gonna be able to pull the hair back away from the face, but you have got so much more movement than what we started with. Again, this cut is just taking everything forward to the same point from front to back, and you're gonna get a lot of shape but maintain more of that longer to medium layer, so it's gonna be easy to manage. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this week's tutorial, and for now I'll leave you with this next video you can check out right here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.